Right now on Current News, goal reached. President Biden announces the U.S. will pass 100 million vaccinations 1 year after America began to lock down. Plus,
I used to have clients that will be okay with bi-weekly sessions, but now it's like they have so much need that you need to see them weekly.
The need for counseling and mental health services has only grown 1 year into the pandemic.
The bill is passed.
The House of Representatives advances 2 measures on immigration, one offering a pathway to citizenship for dreamers. And Pope Francis calls on Catholics to be more like St. Joseph. FEMA is stepping in to help grieving families. The government agency will reimburse the funeral fees for families who lost loved ones to COVID after January 20th, 2020. That's $2 billion in financial assistance. But one Catholic group has been helping those who mourn long before FEMA's announcement. Hello, I'm Christine Persichetti. Just over 1 year ago, the coronavirus was declared a pandemic. Essential workers had to leave their homes when we were asked to stay inside. Now Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens is reaching out to them by offering grief counseling. Jessica Easthope has more.
Okay.
The reassuring voice on the other end of the phone.
So a lot of anxiety.
Sometimes when the person calling is desperate for help,
And
that voice can save a life.
Some of them reporting suicidal ideation or at some point suicidal attempts. I'm feeling anxious.
Karina Albarazin is a social worker and therapist for Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens. Over the last year, she's seen an increase in suicidal thoughts and attempts among her clients, even children.
I will say that remote learning has affected them, many of them, having to learn with time management. It's not the same as, when they were in school and the teacher will say, well, it's time to learn.
Karina has had a 30% increase in cases. Not only has her number of clients gone up, but the pandemic has driven up the frequency of the need itself.
I used to have clients that will be okay with bi-weekly sessions, but now it's like they have so much need that you need to see them weekly. He lost his job.
Karina's the person some clients see after reaching out to Catholic Charities' 24/7 Essential Workers Hotline.
Not having financial resources, not having food, stresses in their relationships, domestic violence, substance use increased significantly in our clients and in the community.
The hotline has had more than 700 essential workers call in. They've all put their health at risk for the sake of the community.
Some of your interventions.
Claudia Salazar, the vice president of behavioral health at Catholic Charities, says as the COVID-19 pandemic is hopefully nearing its end, we're only on the brink of a mental health pandemic.
There's a lot of trauma that we're going to see. It's something that takes a very long time to develop and also a very long time to be able to deal with.
To find a job that
After getting to know her clients, Karina says she's able to incorporate one of her strongest coping tools: faith.
I'm not going to be able to control that, but then I have my faith or my hope that things will get better.
As essential workers themselves, the mental health professionals at Catholic Charities encourage people to use the hotline.
Thank you for calling.
Whether it's one time or every day,
How may I help you?
a voice will be there. In Jackson Heights, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
A milestone in the battle against the coronavirus pandemic. President Biden says the U.S. is reaching his goal of 100 million vaccinations weeks ahead of time. The president promised to release a new vaccination goal sometime next week. The country is on pace to have enough vaccines for every adult by the end of May. President Biden and Vice President Harris meeting with Asian American leaders from Georgia Friday after 6 Asian women and 2 others died during shootings this week. The president also ordering flags at the White House to fly at half-staff in honor of the victims. The gunman, 21-year-old Robert Long, has been charged with 4 counts of murder and 1 count of assault in Cherokee County and is facing 4 counts of murder in Atlanta. But many activists and politicians are calling for Long to be charged with a hate crime.
It looked like a hate crime to me. This was targeted at Asian spas. 6 of the women who were killed were Asian, so it's difficult to see it as anything but that. There are many areas of hate that are covered within the definition of a hate crime. So I think any way that you look at it, it is a hate crime. It should be treated as such.
Long's longtime church, the Crabapple First Baptist Church, also releasing a statement against the shooter, saying his actions were nothing less than rebellion against our holy God and his word. Fears of violence against Asian Americans are being felt in New York City. The NYPD is upping protection measures in Asian communities, but say there are no specific threats. More officers will be sent to neighborhoods like Sunset Park in Brooklyn, Flushing, Queens, and Chinatown in Manhattan. Emily Druby was there earlier this month speaking with business owners who are dealing with hate along with the pandemic.
A steady stream of customers come into Cam Hing Bakery, the busyness a relief to Liz Yee, especially when she reflects on what it was like this time last year.
You saw everybody close their gates, and then a couple months after you saw for rent signs, for sale signs.
This bakery has been in her family for 3 generations. They shut down for 8 months during the pandemic, focusing on their other spot, Tony's Fresh Rice Noodle. It's been rough, a year later, and things are finally starting to look up.
We're making enough to cover us right now, so for me, that's a win right now. Chinatown slowly is getting back to where it is, but not completely.
This has become the norm for Chinatown. Pre-pandemic, there were about 312 eateries. That dropped to 29 in April. A quick walk down the sidewalk, and it's clear that's getting better, but it's still far from normal. A recent survey done by on-the-ground group Chinatown Partnership showed only about 55% of ground floor stores in the area are back open.
For many of these business owners, there has been a bright spot, people coming to their aid from their neighbors around the corner to across the globe.
The good sign is obviously so many people wanted to help, and so many supporters, so many donors.
However, now another ugly virus has reared its head. Racism. Attacks against people of Asian descent are on the rise.
We've definitely seen a lot more fear, especially within the workers.
Wellington says Asian Americans make up about 14% of New York City, and that it's up to the rest of the city to help.
I need the other 86% to speak up, to intervene safely, right? To distract, to de-escalate, to document.
Another way to help the area in their journey to recovery, tourism.
You don't have the kind of foot traffic. And I think a lot of the restaurants are now relying more on takeout and delivery, which is helpful, but it's not enough.
From politicians like New York City Council member Margaret Chin to business owners like Liz Yee, many saying the best way to help is to show up. In Manhattan's Chinatown, Emily Druby, Currents News.
The House of Representatives passes 2 bills that could help dreamers and migrant farm workers become citizens. But both measures face an uphill battle in the Senate. The first bill would provide a pathway for undocumented immigrants who were brought to the U.S. when they were young. It could make up to 4.4 million people eligible for permanent residence. The second bill focuses on giving farm workers and their families a chance to earn legal status through their employment. Pope Francis is elevating Ireland's national shrine to international status. Knock Shrine has held the status of National Marian Shrine for decades, but His Holiness is set to elevate it to an international Marian and Eucharistic shrine. This honor comes nearly 2.5 years after His Holiness visited the site during his apostolic journey for the World Meeting of Families. In his World Day of Prayer for Vocations message, Pope Francis is urging Catholics to look to St. Joseph as an example of faithful service. The pontiff saying, despite the saint's ordinary life, he accomplished something extraordinary in the eyes of God. Friday marks the solemnity of St. Joseph, and the 58th World Day of Prayer for Vocations will take place on April 25th. Churches will be open this year for Easter, so the tablet is helping you find a service in your area. The paper has a full list of masses and vigils from a variety of parishes all around Brooklyn and Queens, starting from Palm Sunday and ending with Mass on Easter Sunday. For a look at the full schedule, as well as all Holy Week updates, just go to thetablet.org. Still to come on Currents News.
Extra, extra! Find out how your students benefit from the tablet newspaper.
One Catholic school principal making headlines as the tablet newspaper's Big Money Fundraiser kicks off. And surviving the pandemic, a look at the Catholic school named Best in the Borough.
You haven't given me a valid reason that I can't play my sport. The sport that I love, the sport that I need.
The city failing to offer guidance as student athletes fight to return to the field. But before we go to break, we want to pay tribute to the victims of the Atlanta shootings. 4 more names were released by the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office on Friday. We'd like to keep them, as well as the rest of the victims and their families, in our prayers.
Extra, extra! Find out how your students benefit from the tablet newspaper and its great fundraiser.
One Catholic school principal going to great lengths promoting the launch of the tablet's new fundraiser. Students are on a mission to go out and sell subscriptions to the diocesan newspaper, and the more they sell, the more money they'll earn for their school. Jessica Easthope has the scoop from Bay Ridge.
Right here, get your newspaper.
Students from more than 50 schools across the Diocese of Brooklyn are becoming newspaper boys and girls. Starting today, they're competing to sell the most new subscriptions or renewals to the Tablet, the Diocese of Brooklyn's paper.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
The executive director of news and development at DeSales Media Group, the nonprofit running the fundraiser, says the incentives are big.
We have covered how difficult the pandemic has been for students in schools. So we really wanted to sit down and come up with a strategy to partner with the schools so we could do anything we could to help.
I'm going to encourage my students to be loud because loud people get heard. This is how we do it.
Kevin Flanagan, the principal of Bay Ridge Catholic Academy, is pulling out all the stops. He's dressed as a paperboy as part of his sales strategy to motivate students.
There you go.
Kids who sell at least 3 orders will qualify to begin earning $10 for each subscription, and their school will earn $5 for each sale.
If you do the math, potentially $250,000 or more can be raised, and that will go directly back to the students in schools.
And that's not all. Students in schools that have the highest sales will win grand prizes that total $12,000.
So you've seen how Catholic schools do more with less. We could do so many things with that would promote healthy practices in the future, that would promote student engagement in the classroom, and that would promote higher levels of learning.
Students at Bay Ridge Catholic don't know what it's like to roll up a newspaper and throw it onto someone's front steps, but they're already getting excited and competitive about their digital paper roots.
Who's gonna win?
Me. I'm gonna win. No, I'm gonna win. What are you talking about? I'm gonna win. Well, I have more friends. I'm gonna win. Yeah, but I know I'm better with the family.
Brother and sister Christopher and Jenna are already coming up with their sales pitches. They're using what they see in the tablet as inspiration.
I see that they want to help people in need and they want to share the good news.
And using their entrepreneurial spirits to evangelize. In Bay Ridge, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
If you don't know a student enrolled, you can still participate. Just go to thetablet.org/COVID relief fundraiser. There you'll be able to select your parish school and subscribe or extend your subscription. The fundraiser runs through April 16th. One Catholic school making headlines, Sacred Heart Catholic Academy in Glendale. It's been named the best in the borough for the 3rd year in a row. Emily Drewby has the story from Glendale.
This is my kindergarten classroom.
From going to class here to having his own class. Peter Stam loves Sacred Heart Catholic Academy of Glendale so much, he's now a teacher. Keeping former students close, one of the reasons the school won big in the Best of the Borough Awards.
For people to vote this much and to keep bringing their kids here, it's really a cool thing to say.
A trifecta win. For the 3rd year in a row, they were voted the best Catholic school in Queens. The competition is put together by Schneps Media.
The Beth Page Best of the Borough is really a program that's all about the opinions of the public. You know, we have hundreds of thousands of votes that come through each year. So, you know, to win is a major accomplishment.
The award voted on by the community, and the school has a strong one. Parent Christopher Russo explains.
We have an amazing set of teachers and administrators here. We're backed by a very strong parent base. We also have a good parish and community of Glendale that loves our school. and we have an alumni of 80+ years that backs our school.
The third win is a big deal. Board Chairman Fred Haller says they had big competition.
We have strong schools, strong Catholic high schools in Queens, and strong grammar schools, and we're among the smallest in the entire borough.
It was also a tumultuous year for all New York City schools, forced to adapt and adjust because of the pandemic.
In one day, an entire faculty that maybe used some technology sometimes really adjusted, knocked it out of the park.
The school survived and thrived. Enrollment grew this year, but most importantly, students and parents are happy.
And I always look forward to coming here every single day.
I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better education.
I think it's just the environment. It's so warm. It's like my second family.
Now they're enjoying the big win. Faculty tells me the recognition brings in more students and even gets their current students noticed by better high schools and colleges. So the only question left to ask, will they be able to make it 4 years in a row? I guess we'll find out. In Glendale, Emily Druby, Currents News.
In the meantime, Catholic school student athletes' futures hang in the balance as they wait to hear if they can play before the semester ends. Emily Druby went to Bay Ridge for this story, where she spoke with students and faculty at Xaverian.
The adrenaline rush before a play. The joy of winning the big game. Milestone moments in a kid's life. In New York City, those moments are being threatened.
All we've been pushing for is to play football, and that's all we want to do at this point. We're not asking for much. We just want to play football.
But Charles and his teammates at Xaverian High School can't. They can only do low-contact practices like this. The city's health department hasn't approved high-risk sports like football, basketball, and cheerleading at Catholic schools, despite consistent requests from school and athletic officials. Starting on February 1st, the state gave local departments of health the right to decide if and when high-risk sports could reopen. Dominic Volpes of the Catholic High School Sports Athletic Association tells us after hearing this, they immediately sent their proposal to the city but received nothing back.
We follow the rules and the regulations. We're ready to go. But to this date, nothing yet.
After over a month of radio silence, both the superintendent of schools for the Archdiocese of New York and the Diocese of Brooklyn got involved, sending a joint letter to the DOH and mayor, but still nothing.
There's not even the decency or the respect to respond. In many ways, it's infuriating. It's a strong word, but it's just disrespectful and infuriating.
While New York City public schools have been flip-flopping between open and closed, the Diocese of Brooklyn schools have been open consistently all year. As Xaverian High School's athletic director explains, adding to the frustration, schools in Long Island and Westchester already received permission from their departments of health back in February and have been playing since.
To see other teams in our league allowed to be able to compete is very, very frustrating because we have the same protocols in place that they have.
Hearing that other kids got to play in weekend, it's pretty much unfair.
Some students upset at missing their last chance to play.
It's very unfortunate for me and all the other seniors. This is really our last year.
Others worried about scholarships.
We kind of need these games to get me filmed so I can go to college.
Now school programs like Xaverian are begging for a chance.
Give us an opportunity to show you that this is something we can do safely.
The DOH has mid-April highlighted as the estimated start date for high-risk sports. Catholic schools and athletic leaders are pleading with the DOH to approve them sooner, hoping to give kids some semblance of normalcy by the end of the year. In Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, Emily Druby, Currents News.
Bigs and Littles, an agency of Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of New York, is known for helping families in need by providing mentors. And that need has exploded during the pandemic. I spoke with Vidya Kelly, the CEO of Bigs and Littles NYC, about what their agency has done for children who have lost a parent.
So it has been a game changer for us. I think when Corona first happened, we didn't know if we could still persist. And really overnight and throughout the pandemic, we completely adapted and switched our program to virtual mentoring, which has really been a lifeline for our kids who have not only been isolated, but their families are dealing with food insecurity, housing insecurity, so many more challenges than we could ever imagine. And I think at the end of the day, we all know the coronavirus affected all of us, but there are some who have suffered more, and those are the children and families that we've been serving.
Yeah, how do you identify which kids are in need of a mentor? Do they sign up themselves?
They do. So oftentimes, typically, our families reach out to us. So we always have a wait list that's kind of never ending. But due to Corona, listen, there are many folks and families who have sadly lost parents during the COVID virus. In fact, 4,200 children lost a parent to COVID just in New York State, and 57 exactly. And that sounds so staggering, but 57% of those children live right here in New York City, in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens. And for us, with those families, we know they're grieving. So we've been trying to do as much outreach as possible to make sure that those families know that they have somewhere to turn to. We know the psychological effects of losing a parent is something no one can ever imagine. And in terms of impact, it impacts psychological health, it impacts schooling, it impacts really everything. And we know that kind of the number one predictor of helping children get through trauma is a caring, consistent adult. And that's where we jump in and come in terms of matching kids with amazing volunteers throughout New York City.
Again, that was Vidya Kelly, CEO of Bigs and Littles NYC. If you'd like to get involved in the program, head on over to bigslittlesnyc.org. Still to come on Currents News, we catch up with the shoemaker whose side business making crosses is booming as the pandemic continues. And Sister Jean is heading back to March Madness. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. One small business owner in Mount Prospect, Illinois, put his faith in God when the pandemic hit, transforming his shoemaking business into a cross-making business. I spoke with Larry D'Angelo, owner of Al's Shoe Service and the Cobbler Cross, about how he puts a little soul into every cross.
So we take a sole of a shoe like this and transform it through the process of cutting them out of the sole into a actual cross like this, which I've designed. I call it the Cobbler Cross. I stamp the middle with this stamp, leather stamp with my hammer 3 times, Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, and I create what I call the mark of the Holy Spirit in the center of it.
And Larry provides another exclusive service at his shop. He plays the flute for all customers who walk in, and he's really talented. If you'd like to buy one of Larry's crosses, head on over to thecobblercross.com. And finally, Sister Jean Dolores Schmidt is headed back to March Madness. Loyola confirms the 101-year-old chaplain is fully vaccinated and will be attending the university's first round matchup this Friday. Sister Jean has not been at a game in person since the pandemic began, delivering pregame prayers virtually. Sister Jean notes she will be following COVID guidelines while she's there, and she is a super fan. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.